Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular political candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Bean. We're coming with that head nod shit that will make you break your neck. Woo-ha. Got you all in check. So how was your Thanksgiving? How was Turkey Day?
It was pretty good. I ate way too much. I think I had seconds of everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
We went up to Ohio, and so I think I had an unknown number of deviled eggs. I think one day I started trying to count it, and I started feeling lots of shame, and I stopped counting. Because it was like, all right, I ate a bunch on Thanksgiving, and then, the next day, I had a bunch for breakfast. And at lunchtime, had a couple more. And so I don't know. I probably ate, over a dozen eggs, I think. So a lot of protein. It's good. Problem is with traveling for Thanksgiving, you don't get as many leftovers, So I did what any red-blooded American male does when his wife leaves town for the weekend. I baked a turkey last night. Yeah,
nice.
Leftover turkey. Yeah, and I made the stuffing too. I found it's a paleo-friendly stuffing, which I'm not really doing paleo, but cutting the bread out and all that. And so it's like almond flour and eggs, and then apples, which you don't really taste that much. I think they just add a little sweetness and texture. And then like carrot, celery, onions, and then sweet potatoes was the missing link.
Interesting.
Yeah, because bread has a sweetness to it you don't really think about. But the stuffing, the first round I tried it, I was like, it's a little dry, a little meh. But sweet potatoes really tied it all together. I am what I am. All right, well, that's my big Thanksgiving update. As far as things going on in the world, I want to start with the most tragic, the thing that brings me the most heartache, and that, of course, is George Santos being expelled from Congress. So we'll go to this article from The Guardian here. The New York Republican fabulist and accused fraudster, George Santos, has been expelled from Congress. The vote to expel Santos, the second since his election last year, required 2/3 majority. They got 311 people voted to kick him out. He is only the sixth member to be expelled. The first three fought for the Confederacy, and the other two were convicted of crimes. So he's actually the first one to ever be expelled from Congress without being convicted of a crime, which I do find to be troublesome. But, 311 people voted to throw him out because he's pleading not guilty. I mean, he's guilty, but he's pleading not guilty. Let's see. What changed things was, whoops. You're on my screen. Get off of here. Sorry, when I tap mine, I steal the mouse from you.
Yeah.
Where is it? Okay, yeah, here it is. The damning report from the House Ethics Committee detailing how Santos used campaign funds for purchases including travel, cosmetic treatment, luxury goods. Oh, wait, they didn't mention and OnlyFans. It's not mentioned in this article, but one of the things he used his campaign funds on was OnlyFans subscriptions.
Seriously?
Seriously. He used campaign funds to pay for OnlyFans.
Wow, there's a lot of firsts going on here.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because you look at some of the other stuff, and you go, well, I remember Marco Rubio getting $500 haircuts, which, look, I'm not saying that I've got a wonderful hairline, but I don't pay $500 for a haircut. Marco Rubio does not have enough hair to spend $500 on a haircut.
Yeah, if that's what 500 gets you.
Yeah, I mean, it's some weird comb-over type thing. Like, I don't know. It's not good. I mean, like, look, I feel you, I wish I had more hair like I used to. But, I think I'm kind of mad my barbershop went up to $35. Like, for real. Before, I was like, all right, 40 with tip. That seems okay. Now I got to go up to, like, 45. And I don't feel good about it. But, you got to pay your bills, I guess. I do like my barber. Blah, blah, blah. Is there anything else important about this? This Republican, who cares about you? Communications for whoever the hell, don't care. Okay, so I wanted George Santos to stay in Congress possibly forever. So, of course, do you remember when, all the stuff when he ran, all the weird stuff with Santos? Okay, so he gets elected. Maybe is that listed in here?
Is it scrolling for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But where is it? So he gets elected up in New York, and it was like gay, Hispanic, Republican. It was part of the wave election in New York, where just a whole bunch of red seats, all the blue seats turned red. And so Republicans were like, "We got a gay Hispanic, cha-ching!" And then, and so like he was, and so he said, I don't know. He said basically that he got that he worked for like a bunch of investment houses before starting his own, and that he was wealthy, and so he was a successful businessman basically, and who worked in finance and investments. At some point, I think he loaned his campaign something crazy like $800,000 or something like that. And so you go, well, I mean, he's rich from investments. He put $800,000 toward it. Like, good on him, And ends up, he didn't work for any of those investment houses. And he's like, well, my family has some money. Well, ends up his mom's a maid in South America. And so maids in South America aren't typically rich, believe it or not.
But sounds like Epstein.
And yeah, exactly.
BSing your way into the rich lifestyle,
Yeah, where did Epstein get his money?
Right.
That's the other thing. No one knows. No one knows where he it's like, oh, he works in investments. It's like, yeah, but how did he get the billion? Like,
right.
How did he end up a billionaire? Like,
he just made friends with him.
Yeah, well, CIA, or some people say, what's the Israeli secret? Or
Assad?
Yeah, Mossad.
Mossad.
Yeah.
So.
Some people, he's not CIA, he's Mossad, but, potato. But yeah, so then it's like, okay. It's like, so you weren't rich. It's like, also, there's open warrants for your arrest in, where was it, Brazil or someplace, wherever he's from, his mom's from. It's, he basically would, he broke into some of her clients' houses, or maybe he was helping her or something, but stole checkbooks and wrote bad checks, stole some jewelry and all that. And a picture came out. I guess he liked to kind of dress and drag like the Chiquita Banana Lady.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that would, all that kind of stuff. And I guess he liked to do drag shows and all that. But, he was openly gay, so that really wouldn't score points against you, I guess. It's not like he was running as a Christian conservative that was, anti-gay or something. But either way, total fraud. No idea where this money comes from. He got other people's money, which, I mean, I guess if you donate money to your campaign and then you use it for OnlyFans, is that as corrupt? I don't know. I mean, why not just pay it with your own money? But still, where the $800,000 or whatever it was come from. But I wanted him in office forever, just because if he got reelected, which he said he wasn't going to run, but if he got reelected with like 2 years, or at least 1 year of all this damning information that he's like a total fraud and possibly a criminal. And it's just like, well, name recognition is good. Name recognition just gets you reelected. I think after one time, people will be like, all right, Democrats, this is just how crazy Republican voters are, And I think all the Republicans will be like, we got to primary this guy. But if you won twice, then it's like, all right, keep going, man. Just stay in forever. Just show what a mockery this whole system is. And then maybe at some point, you get both of them going, we need term limits. George Santos can't be in here forever. And that would have been wonderful. But instead, they expelled him. Yeah, I thought so. It's like strategy. And it would just be so funny to me for him just to double down and go, I'm not going anywhere. And then win. It's like, sorry. It's like, yeah, I lied the first time. Since then, I have been a representative. So now it's just re-election. And you can show, I think he pretty much votes however Marjorie Taylor Greene votes. And so he can, be like, I'm a conservative leader. Look at my voting record. And then he even stood up for McCarthy a couple times because McCarthy opted not to do an expulsion vote on him at first because the majority was so slim. So he just stripped him of all committee assignments, but let him stay in there and get paid and everything. So Santos was like, okay, works for me. Like you, Mark McCarthy. And so, but yeah, we lost him. The best congressman we had, George Santos. I hope he runs for Senate, and I hope he wins. Imagine that, especially if he ran against somebody like Chuck Schumer, like the Senate majority loses to George Santos. I mean, that would be such a great day. I would love that. Yeah, all right. So another interesting thing that happened. Did you watch the DeSantis Gavin Newsom debate?
I did not.
So yeah, I kind of forgot it was on, and then saw some posts. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this thing. Of course, DeSantis is our governor here in Florida, and Newsom is the governor of California, and DeSantis is running for president. But one of the funniest things that happened that night was at the end. Yeah, that was probably me stealing from you. One of the funniest things of the night happened where it was at the end, and this debate had been going on, and I think Gavin Newsom did not seem like prepared necessarily. Like they would show, I mean, Sean Hannity was moderating this thing, right? So the questions are going to be from the perspective of Sean Hannity, like he was like, oh, I'll be fair. And I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, he was no more unfair than when the CNN people host a Republican thing or whatever, or even a presidential debate. But the questions come from the perspective of somebody who's a Fox News talk radio Republican guy. And so it was a lot of them are like, hey, Democrat stuff's bad, right? Don't you think? Or, with the borders, he's like, is it okay for terrorists to come in through the southern border? And it's just, it's one of these questions where it's like, no, yes, it's not a fair question,
It's loaded.
Yeah. Have you told anybody you beat your wife? But, so I was going up, but it was they'd show these stats, and it'd say I'm trying to remember. One was about people leaving. One was people since in the 2-year period, 800,000 people left California and 500,000 people moved to Florida. And Gavin Newsom was 2023, more people moved from Florida to California than California to Florida. And they're like, okay. But overall, and he kept pulling that stat out. And so it was all right. But he never said how many. It could be 7 and 5, I don't know. But that was one where he actually knew what his number meant. Later, there'd be a question about, I don't know, I forget it, economic things. And so they'd show the numbers on the board. The numbers came from the federal government. According to the blah, blah, blah labor statistics, California this, Florida that. And then he'd be like, no, California is actually doing better than Florida by 19% or something like that. And they're like, but no, the numbers are right there. And he'd be like, nope, 19%. And so but it was every time he had.
Just picture this kid in a corner, pouting with his arms folded.
Yeah, it was more like Christian Bale in American Psycho, just trying to schmooze it through. But the problem was, I don't think his team taught him what the numbers actually were, So whatever this, I'm kind of making up the 19%, but he's like, oh nope, 19% better than Florida. And it's in what regard? Because we're looking at the number, they're asking about these numbers that they're showing that were pulled from, the federal government. And you're basically no, here's my number. And it's right, but what is that number? And he couldn't never elaborate on what that number was. They would just be here are these stats. How you want to talk about them? He's with a different stat. It's where are you getting that stat? He's I don't know. So it did not go well for him. The whole time it looked like just a lying.
Like a cat falling off a table?
Cat falling off a table? I don't know. You're talking about
scratching at everything, try to maintain.
He stayed poised, I guess. But he just didn't have a lot of arguments in his pocket, and his arguments were very superficial. At least his ability to make the argument, he couldn't go one layer deeper, let alone break it down at all.
He just kept it vague in general.
Yeah, he just had all these different talking points and numbers memorized, but he didn't know why. He couldn't show the work, And because of that, it became increasingly ridiculous. He did not look good in this. He looked like somebody who because you would think like, all right, he's going to come out. He's running to be the alternative Biden for when Biden like just keels over from being old and decrepit, you know. And everyone's like, well, he's good looking, he's smooth, you know, he represent, and like he was, you know, 100% defending Biden and everything. The administration like gave him a grade of A, defended Bidenomics, defended like anything that was about Biden. He's like, oh, 100% doing great. And so, but he did show up as somebody that was just trying to like, I don't know, car salesman past the point. And it went like that all night. So then, at the end, I'm getting a little tired. It's about sleepy time. I'm like, well, it's wrapping up, you know. So Hannity goes like, oh, thank you, gentlemen. You know, I hope we can get together sometime and do this again. And Newsom standing up there, he's like, psh, and he's like, I'm here right now. I could go for hours. Let's keep going, like another hour or two. I could debate all night. And I couldn't hear what DeSantis was saying because Newsom's mic, I guess, was louder or something like that. But I imagine, you know, DeSantis was giving it any time, yeah, whatever, let's go. And so, you know, clearly bluster. You know, I'm watching it and like, all right, assholes, you know. So you're expecting Handy to be like, all right, well, okay, we'll try and get this done later. Handy goes, okay, well, I mean, we have time. We were going to go into the analysis, but we can just keep going on this. It sounds like both parties agree. So when you come back from because he was doing his exit thing, but he's like, all right, well, both parties agree we're going to keep debating. So after this commercial break, I guess more debates coming. And so like I was sitting there, I'm like, holy cow, they just blustered their way into like more debate that they haven't prepped for, you know? I was like, this is great. And so then the commercial comes back, and I'm just waiting, or they come back from commercial. And Hannity's like, well, both parties agree that they actually have other commitments and they don't have time to debate. So we're going to go ahead and stick with the original plan, blah, 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 blah. And so, you know, that's hilarious because it's like, oh, all these macho dudes is like, we can go for hours. And it's like, well, I mean, not now. Not like
they went to break and we're like, well, maybe
like,
not.
Yeah, like I don't actually want to do that. I was just looking tough for the cameras. What the hell's wrong with you? Like we agreed to 90 minutes. 90 minutes is up. Let's get out. So then afterwards, some kind of post-debate reports are coming through. Give me 1 second here. I already told you about all that kind of stuff. Let me jump to the bottom. All right. So we're going down to beginning with behind the scenes. This is from NBC News. But behind the scenes, atmosphere is far less jovial. The matchup between the two governors on opposite sides of the spectrum who have long used each other as foils. And while DeSantis is currently running for president, he's trailing, blah, blah, blah. What the audience didn't see, and what at least 5 sources shared with NBC News, is that off-screen there were significant disagreements happening. Both teams were arguing that the other side was breaking the rules that were agreed upon in advance. So I'm going to skip through most of it. Basically, like there's
a bunch of children.
Yeah, well, everybody was supposed to stay in like the green rooms, and you weren't supposed to talk to the candidate. So at some point, like first commercial break, DeSantis takes a pee break or whatever, and his wife was standing there waiting by the door instead of staying in the green room, and she's like an advisor and very political savvy. But apparently, and I hadn't read it to this article, Newsom's wife came into the debate room a couple times to raise some objections. I guess she wasn't supposed to do that. But so she also, Newsom's wife also made her way to the stage during the break after the candidates agreed to extend the debate and put an end to it. A fifth source on the ground, unaffiliated with either campaign, which probably means a Fox News person, confirmed that Seibel, is that the name?
Yeah.
Seibel Newsom into the debate on her husband's behalf, saying, we're done. So, like, his wife came and was like, nope, we're done. And so I have a feeling she saw what everybody else was saying, that it was not going well. And it's just like, get out of there. Like, she probably also knew, like, you've gone through all the talking points we've talked about, you know?
Yeah, you're empty, buddy.
Yeah. And that's, you know, a DeSantis person obviously spun it that way. But yeah, it goes into this other crap. But at some point, DeSantis brought up her dad, because he made this point. He goes, you know, I was talking to this guy the other day. He said he moved from California to Florida. He said it was just, you know, a better governed state. It was, you know, better taxes. But, that was it. On taxes, they showed, like, Florida has higher property taxes. California has higher all the other taxes. And Newsom's like, no, it's more affordable for the working man in California than Florida. And they're like, you have DeSantis, like, your gas is over $5 a gallon. How does that help anybody? And but he goes, no, it's better. He couldn't say why. He couldn't like calculate like, if you look at this, that, and the other, the working class actually is better off. He goes, oh, you're charging the poor. That's what you do. You charge the poor. Because it's like, it's like, but your average sales tax is higher. The gas tax is higher. You have income taxes, like state income taxes. And it's just really hard to see where the math would add up, and he never did add it up. But anyway, so DeSantis is like, oh, this guy moved and he was talking about all this great stuff. And he goes, oh, and by the way, my son-in-law is the governor of California. So he brought up, Newsom's father-in-law apparently moved to Florida, and according to DeSantis, told him that Florida was better run than California, which, I don't know if that's true or not. He said so, and I haven't seen anybody come out and say that, whatever his name is, said that wasn't true, I haven't seen any reports like, hey, that's not what happened. Oh, he didn't even talk to him. He just heard that he moved here or something. So it might be true. I don't know. But yeah, so that was one of my favorite moments of the week, was just watching these people bluster their way into more work and then not actually have the guts to back it up, which it probably would have been a total mess. But it would have been great. It would have been glorious. Oh, man. The one thing, though, so the DeSantis camp is going to get lots of good clips to pull for campaign ads and fundraisers and all that kind of stuff. And they'll be able to, make the point, look, this is how I stand up to the leftist arguments. If I was debating Joe Biden, look what I did with Newsom. Think what I would do with Biden. So he'll be able to make these pitches and might give him a little spike. I don't know. He's still, Trump is so far ahead of everybody that... really, if DeSantis doesn't win Iowa, time to pull the cord, get out. And then if Haley doesn't win New Hampshire, because I don't think she'll win South Carolina. If she wins New Hampshire, then she has a chance to get momentum into South Carolina, which is where she was a governor, But if Trump takes Iowa and New Hampshire, I imagine he can take South Carolina and the whole board after that. And it's just
I saw the clip of him walk into the South Carolina stadium for a football game, and it just was, I was probably deafening in there.
Oh, yeah, cheering?
Oh, yeah, going nuts.
You see him going to the UFC event? I forget which fight it was, but, all together it was Donald Trump, Kid Rock, Dana White, and I feel like there's one other person. I can't remember who, but another, right-wing, Republican person that gets a lot of attention. I forget. But yeah, I think Joe Rogan referred to him as the Republican Avengers or something. But yeah, that place is UFC fans, apparently, at least 90% of them are Trump people. And so, that place exploded. So I don't know. I don't see how Trump doesn't win this. And, I get it. All the other people are going to give it the college try. I'm surprised at how much Haley's catching steam. She's done well in debates, but for a while it seemed like the Republican Party was moving a little more anti-war, and she is not. She's very pro-war, but I guess there's still a chunk of the Republican Party that's holding on to that whole go around the world and get in wars and stay in wars and fight the wars and Team America, all that kind of stuff.
Who would be Trump's VP?
Well, that is the actual interesting question, I think. It wouldn't be Haley, I don't think. She served as a UN ambassador under him and, resigned and all that. But she was one of the few people that resigned without getting flamed by Trump, because most people would I quit. He was a dog. He was a dog. Begged me for his job. I said, okay. And he failed so bad, I let him resign. But he's, oh, thank you for your contributions, whatever. But Vivek says he doesn't want it. He says, I'm an executive. I've never been a number two. I wouldn't want to do it. But I could see a situation where Trump, because Vivek also hasn't said anything negative about Donald Trump. Called him, he said he's the best president of the 21st century, which, has been going on that long, but I guess 23 years. So I could see a situation where Trump's like, hey, I like your idea about firing the FBI, firing these executive branch deals. How about as a VP, you'll be the boss over this side of stuff, and then I'll handle all this other stuff. And that way, you kind of answer to me, but I'll let you do your thing. And you just run it, we'll be on the same side. And him being like, okay, or at least that being the spin, because quite frankly, someone offers you vice president of the United States, come on.
There's a lot of benefits.
Yeah, I'd take it. I'd be like, these corrupt politicians are all slime working for power. It's like, you want to be VP? It's like, yeah, I'll be VP. It's like, don't you hate the guy that's going to be president? It's like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm vice president now.
As long as that check shows up.
As long as that check shows up from you and the defense lobbyists, especially Big Pharma. But, hey, it's just like, I'm one assassination attempt away from being in charge of this place. And then maybe you do the Lyndon Johnson thing and don't have people assassinated. I think Lyndon Johnson's guilty as all hell. That was, I tell you about... So in Memphis, a lot of people that, back in the day, back in the 60s and stuff, there was a lot of people that would, work as, I don't know what you call them, waiters for house parties. It's, for a caterer, but kind of not, it's Old South kind of stuff, so it's, they're kind of maid butler type people, but they work parties for rich people. And so they would travel through, Dallas, Louisiana, places like that. And so there's these one cats that went from Memphis that were working a party in Dallas. I think it was either for Lyndon Johnson or some big donor or something. But apparently Lyndon Johnson busted in, and he's like, that son of a bitch has made a monkey out of me for the last time. And that was him talking about Kennedy. And not too long after that, his head popped. So, I don't know. I think him and CIA I think they were all on the same page on that one. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. All right. Speaking of weaponization, give me 1 second, of our government, we've actually got some hearings going on. Did I say everything I wanted to say about all that? Oh, for Vivek, though, I did end up buying his koozies, which is going to count as a campaign contribution, which I hate. It's going to put me on more lists. I get so many. I get them from both the Democrats and the Republicans, which is fun because I get mail. Will be like, find out how Joe Biden is destroying America. Find out why Joe Biden's the only hope for America. And it's in the same day. I'm like, well, let's see what they say. But Nikki Haley called Ramaswamy scum during the last debate because she was complaining about him being on TikTok or something because it's owned by the Chinese in this other debate. So in this one, he was like, you talk about me being on it. Your daughter's on it right now. Your daughter posts stuff on TikTok all the time. And she's an adult. She's not a child. But still, it was kind of bringing family into it, not really making a good point. And so she's like, you're just scum. So he made these koozies that say rebel scum since 1776. And it's got his little V on it, which, I didn't even realize. But it's fun. Rebel scum. I like it. All right. So on Thursday, House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan subpoenaed two of the White House's most infamous censorship czars. Former White House Senior Advisor for COVID Response Team Andrew Slavitt, and the former Director of Digital Strategy for the Biden White House, Robert Flaherty. I was reading that as an N earlier. Both men were ordered to appear for a deposition related to the Weaponization Committee's investigation into how and to what extent the executive branch has coerced and colluded with companies and other intermediaries to censor speech. So far, they've refused, saying you got to talk to the White House. And it's it's largely been informed by the explosive Missouri versus Biden, which exposed several instances of illegal censorship directed by the White House and various federal agencies. The case is expected to be heard by the Supreme Court sometime before the end of next June. All right, so here are some of the instances that these cats were in charge of. We got the shadow banning of Tucker Carlson. April 14th, 2021, Slavitt demanded the censorship of a post made by Tucker Carlson because of its anti-vax message. Facebook responded by saying they demoted the post. And despite the shadow ban, Carlson was able to get 40,000 shares because he's kind of a popular guy, prompting Flaherty to follow up with Facebook saying, even in a phone call with a Facebook executive, demanding an explanation for the post's virality. Facebook responded by insisting that the video was given a 50% demotion for 7 days and stated it would continue to demote the video. So that was the White House saying, don't let people hear Tucker Carlson. Which, by the way, he was just on Part of the Problem with Dave Smith. Have you ever listened to that?
Oh, no, I saw the clip of that.
Yeah, well, it's a really good get by Dave Smith, to get him on the show. But, yeah, people are freaking out by some of the stuff he's saying on it. Even like Ben Shapiro got his feelings hurt because they're talking. I don't know. Ben Shapiro, this Israel thing has broken that man.
Yeah, what happened to him?
I mean, I think his wife. I don't know if she was born in America or Israel, but I think she's got lots of family over in Israel, and so like I get that, and I don't know if he does or his family's her family and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I know he's a very orthodox, conservative, Jewish guy. But really, I mean, he does the orthodox thing, the no electronics on Saturday and all that kind of stuff. But, for being the facts don't care about your feelings guy, he is all in his feelings. And, like, they're just, everything can't be anti-Semitic, Like, Israel exists as a government. And yes, it's like it's the only Jewish nation and all this kind of stuff. But of course, you talk to anybody in their government or that lives there, of course, they're not a solely Jewish country. There's Christians and Arabs and Jews and Hindu and, of course, actually, I think the population of Jewish people in New York and maybe Miami, too, is more than Israel. But still, it's the only country that it's a Jewish home and all that. But it seems like you say anything where you're critical of Israel, and some of these people are just like, that's anti-Semitic. And you're like, well, it's not. And even like the people, a lot of people are stupid. A lot of people don't understand. But, some people are saying there should be a ceasefire because they legitimately just don't want war, And like, it's not this anti-Semitic thing where you're saying no one cares about the deaths on October 7th. It's that they don't think the solution is just bombing the hell out of Gaza in the name of killing every single Hamas person. I get it. That expression, don't poke the bear. If you got a well-armed state that is already possibly not that friendly to you, probably shouldn't go through raping and killing, because then it just, like we said, like we talked about when it first broke out, like it was one of those things you just knew all hell was going to break loose, and you didn't. I couldn't see a way that it didn't, and obviously it did. And I get that Iran more than Hamas themselves wanted this reaction so that they could try to rally the Arab nations to the cause. And they got it. And like, it seems. So Iran, they have their different little proxies, and some of them they care about more than others, So, what is it? The Houthis in Yemen, they got their back, and they're kind of a thing. Hamas, kind of a thing. They're like, oh yeah, well, go ahead, throw some rocks and stuff. Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah is one of their babies. They like Hezbollah. And notice Hezbollah has not invaded yet. And they've, a couple rockets being shot from borders and that kind of stuff. But Hezbollah is just like, hey, it's fine. It's fine. Well, we're watching. So I don't know. I think
it's strategic. I mean, they're just waiting to see if Hamas can't. They don't want to expel their materials, their weapons until Hamas is like depleted, I guess.
Yeah, or they, it could be that. It could be just that the longer this goes on, the more anti-Israel a lot of people are going to be about this war, just because big versus little. You got a nuclear armed state that just somehow got nuclear weapons. We don't know how in the U.S., but this nuclear armed state with like sophisticated missiles. They're a sophisticated Western society, and then they're going against the Gazans, or they're going against Hamas. But people who are living in tunnels, some of which Israel says they built.
Yep.
So like this whole terror tunnel thing's kind of an interesting name for it. But yeah, so it's going to be big versus small, and people can get more anti-Israel. So I think Iran sits back and waits. I think the idea is you just you hope, if you're Iran, you hope for as many Palestinians to be killed as possible. The more women and children, the better. And then hopefully at some point, some of the people that maybe signed on for the Abrahamic Accords pull out, and you can like reestablish a little bit more of a anti-Israel sentiment in the region, something like that. I think that's kind of what's happening here. Israel kind of played right into it, but Netanyahu kind of benefits. It's been reported, I guess the source is a questionable source, but that Netanyahu said that they should support Hamas as long as possible, because as long as Hamas is the head of Gaza, there will never be a two-state solution, and they don't have to worry about that. So if you're looking for a single state of Israel solution, then you want terrorists to be the ones representing the Palestinians, because the international community will never back them. And so you'll never have pressure from the outside world. Now, apparently the person reporting that is, I don't know, people question that source about how valid it is and whether it's a good source. I don't know. But, I mean, Netanyahu's definitely seems to be in a stronger position now as a prime minister than he was 6 months ago, or whenever he finally got through all those elections, So, I mean, he definitely benefits from this. Anyway, back to the censorship thing. There was also Facebook reported to Flaherty and Slavitt and other White House officials that had labeled and demoted comedic vaccine posts that may discourage vaccination, and assured the White House that it labeled and demoted posts suggesting natural immunity to COVID-19 infection is superior to vaccine immunity. Let's remember that one. So if you try to say natural immunity is better, you got to get labeled and demoted. They immediately banned a Biden family parody account. So a parody account linked to Finnegan Biden, Hunter Biden's daughter, and President Biden's granddaughter, which I don't even remember that, I guess. But anyway, Flaherty was like, cannot stress the degree to which this needs to be resolved immediately. Please remove this account immediately. And within 45 minutes, Twitter had suspended the account. The committee and subcommittees have obtained documents that demonstrate the central role that Slavitt and Flaherty played in communicating with Biden's White House censorship efforts to social media companies, including the White House, blah, 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 blah. So they're trying to get them to testify. So there's a congressional research or congressional hearing on the weaponization of the federal government, which sounds good to me. Hopefully something comes of it. Probably not. But so this one thing, saying that natural immunity is better than the vaccine. We've got this little study here from Estonia. So this is from theblaze.com, which, by the way, they have removed all ads from their website. Are we getting cookie blocked? Okay. Their website is so nice now. They have no ads anywhere. They've got one little pop-up that tries to get you to subscribe to them. And other than that, in the articles, no ads. On the homepage, no ads. It is just one of the cleanest websites.
So it's just subscription?
No, you can read it no matter what. They just say, hey, please support us with subscriptions. Okay. And so, but it's totally free, still, with zero ad support.
Nice.
Just the news is real clean too. And I use my Pi hole to get through some of those ads, but But now the blaze, like
It just clicked in my head.
what?
No, just with the word of, or the phrase pie hole.
Oh yeah, my Raspberry Pi filter. But yeah, but either way, it's one of the nicest news websites on there. Even like I know it's going to lean more right wing than some other sites that lean left, but like it's just a clean, pretty site. Anyway, let's just me appreciating that. All right. So people with natural immunity to COVID-19 have better protection against a respiratory disease than those who receive the mRNA vaccine, according to a new study. So a group of researchers from Estonia took a pool of 329,496 adults between February 26th and June 25th, 2021, so June of the next year. The analysis was based on data from 246,113 individuals who qualified as one of four categories. That was individuals, so they categorized them as those with no immunity against COVID, those with natural immunity from previous infections, those who had a vaccine immunity, and those who had both. So they had it and they got the vaccine. And so,
like a good study.
Yeah, that's not a small sample size. Like I don't really understand the difference between the 329,000 adults and the 246,000. Like I don't know what happened to those like 80,000 people in that difference, but who cares? 246,000 is still a very good sample size. So natural immunity conferred substantial protection against COVID-19 hospitalization. The author wrote, our study showed that natural immunity offers stronger and longer-lasting protection against infection, symptoms, and hospitalization compared to vaccine-induced immunity. Let's see. So people who received the vaccine were nearly 5 times as likely as the naturally immune to test positive for COVID-19 during Delta, and 1.1 times more likely during Omicron. So, Omicron was that twist that was more contagious, less deadly, and everybody was getting it. So still natural immunity, you were less likely to get substantially less likely to get Delta and a little bit less likely to get Omicron. Individuals who were vaccinated against COVID were 7 times as likely to be hospitalized during Delta and 2 times as likely with Omicron. So if you got it and all you had was the vaccine, you were 2 to 5 times more likely to go to the hospital over it. And I don't know. You'd have to break this out by age because, if lots of elderly people were getting the vaccine and those are the people going to the hospital, in Estonia, I'm guessing not as much obesity as America, just a guess. Because I don't think any place has obesity. UK is making a push. UK is trying to get fat too. Good for them. Must be fat.
It's interesting because Europe's usually pretty picky about their food.
Well, yeah.
In general, at least.
Well, and they've got different, I'm not about, federal regulations on this kind of stuff. But, we got them in America. That hasn't prevented this stuff. But, in, Italy and France and stuff, I think they still grow their grain with, the same seeds they've been using for, 500 years or something like that. So it's these heirloom seeds that just grow, and they don't buy the weird hybrid Monsanto kind of things every year. They just bring some stuff to seed, keep the seeds, plant it again, bring it to seed, like the way farmers used to do stuff. And so that's why when people eat pasta and bread in France and Italy and stuff, they go I didn't lose weight. I was over there. I ate tons of bread and cheese and pasta, and I lost 10 pounds. It's because it's real grain and not the crap we use. The bleached out white grain sprayed with nutrients. If you ever see fortified grains, it means we literally spray folic acid and stuff onto them, which great,
On Santos.
Yeah, can't we just grow normal wheat? Yeah.
DeSantis just signed, he's allowing them we're going to use their radioactive waste to make roads in this area. Highways, maybe? Highways.
There, and I didn't see that, but I imagine that has to do with the phosphate mines.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, phosphate mines. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, mining
so
runoff or whatever it is.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay port, a huge thing that keeps it open is actually phosphates. We have phosphate mines in the Bay Area, and they get sent off to places that make fertilizer with the phosphates, and then they ship fertilizer back. And I think there's another byproduct, I forget, but I think there's a byproduct from the phosphates from making the fertilizer that we also ship somewhere. But it all pretty much has a root in phosphate mining. When we had that big leak, because right south of Tampa Bay, there was that holding place that hadn't been maintained and leaked tons of phosphates into the water. And then surprise, surprise, we had that huge algae bloom that even DeSantis was like, it has nothing to do with that. And I was just like, that's literally impossible. Like it's a biotic growth in the water that is like bigger than ever before. Around the same time you poured fertilizer into the water, like hundreds of thousands of gallons. It's like, so you don't see any tie between like biotic growth and fertilizer.
Right.
I mean,
what else is it?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like
if that's not it, what is it then?
The golf courses, they stock these things with like bass, or not bass, but some sort of fish that eat algae and all that kind of stuff. 'Cause all the runoff from keeping the grass green causes all sorts of biotic growth. And then the alligators eat the fishies, or the dogs. But anyway, but with phosphates, so when that leak happened, everyone was talking about how radioactive everything was. Oh, this is radioactive. And it's like, well, okay, technically true, but the sun is radioactive.
Right.
And so when we go outside, we're exposed to radiation. It's a radiation we're used to. And, it's one of the reasons that, like, when you're high up in the mountains, sometimes you get worse sunburn because you have less protection from the evil sun's radiation. And we have to do everything we can to take out the sun. Bill Gates is working on the plan that the Monty Burns plan of blocking it out with, was it calcium carbonate? I think he wants to fluff up into the sky so it can reflect it, which...
Oh, you mean what they've already been doing? Oh, wait. Oops. That's a conspiracy theory. My bad.
He's paying for the study, though. And everyone knows the Jews control the weather.
I've got to get my hands on this.
Seriously. Did you not buy that space laser thing? Come on.
It is. Well, I'll get it.
Okay. I want one, too. I might get one, too. Oh. Anyway. But so it does have radioactivity to it. And one of the things that they wanted to do with gypsum, phosphate gypsum, is I think the right word for it, is the spent, I guess once it's used, once it's a waste product, it kind of sits there and just hold it. But some places you can mix it with, some places like, why don't you just use it as a substitute for one of the other things? That's an asphalt, and then you just use it, and then boom, you got it for asphalt. And people go, what else can make the roads radioactive? And so I haven't looked to see exactly like how much more radioactive the road would be versus what it is naturally. Because, it spends all day absorbing radiation. And then when you get x-rays, right, people wear lead to protect you. Well, after the thing, that lead actually puts off radiation because it's absorbed it, and it has absorbed a certain level of radiation. Now it puts it off there, which every dental hygienist on the planet seems to have no knowledge of how X-ray radiation work. And like when I switched dentists and I had to get X-rays, I was like, "You're not going to put on anything?" It's like, "No, it's fine." And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "It's a digital X-ray these days. They have less radiation." I was like, that's not a thing. That's
not an X-ray.
Oh, it is an X-ray, but like the digital is just
right.
that it used to be on film. So like it would be projected onto this little plate thing. They literally develop it like a camera, and now it goes into a computer instead. So it's not that there's no X-ray; it's just not going to literal film. And so I ended up telling him, I was like, well, yeah. I was like, low-grade radiation bounces more, has more of a scatter, and so it actually is going to affect you more than like a strong radiation burst, probably. I was like, and you're covering me with lead. I was like, so as you come in next to me, this lead is putting off radiation, and this whole time you're just staying totally unprotected to it. And I was like, so I don't know. I was like, maybe wear the lead. And she was just like, She's like, you're the second person to tell me that. And she's like, I had this other person who's a radiologist, and she was telling me the same thing. I was like, you should probably listen to the radiologist on that one. I was like, just, I was like, you can do what you want. I was like, but it's real. Radiation's real. I don't even know. But anyway, so yeah, I'd like to see, because I'm not entirely sure that it's a bad thing. I'm sure environmentally it's a bad, but asphalt's gross too. So I don't know. I'll look into that. Let's see. So yeah, Estonia says all that stuff that you got banned for is actually real. Okay, we'll tear through this one. It's actually kind of a big deal, but I do want to get to Elon. So, Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi have been testifying to Congress. They're both, journalists who are part of the Twitter Files release. They're both left-wing people who are getting labeled as right-wing people now, because they bucked party lines during COVID and all that, where it's party line says, vaccine is perfect, and if you say anything against that, you're clearly a Trump supporter. And so when they would just report actual stuff, it was just well, you're, we gotta kick you out now, you're banned and all that. And then with the Twitter Files, with all the censorship stuff, they're just they're journalists who are pro free speech, which makes sense, which did not used to be considered right wing. And I don't consider it right wing, but this new flavor of progressive Democrat is so in lockstep that, anything that threatens their power structure, they call right wing as a disparaging thing, They, see, it was a couple months ago that working out.
Stop.
Yeah. It was, you probably find it with a quick search, but it was something like exercise is the new right wing thing or whatever. I think it has to do with Rogan. I think it all ties
Get
to.
out of here.
Well, because Rogan is all working. He works out and stuff,
Yeah.
and so then he has on people who are UFC guys and Navy SEAL guys, and a lot of people work out, and he talks to people. People come in, he chats about exercise, even with comedians and stuff, because he's really into it. That dude likes working out.
He's a beast.
He's a beast. He had The Rock on the other day.
Jesus.
And apparently him, The Rock, Rogan, and then these three comedians that are friends with him. I guess Rogan's been trying to get these three comedians to work out more, and so The Rock was coming on, so they all did a workout with The Rock. So these guys were basically a month into exercise in general for the first time ever. It's okay, we're gonna work out with The Rock today. It's just like that. That would be. I don't know if that would be motivating or intimidating, but I do find that I do better in those. In classes where you have a trainer type person and other people to kind of compete against, Problem is I can't afford that. But when Trace's jiu-jitsu class at the first gym we were at, during that time they used to have a fitness training sort of thing, and basically if you paid for the monthly dues, you got all the stuff, So I was well, I'll do that, and it was a lot of fun. There was this younger guys in much better shape than me. Probably better shape than I was at that age, too. Probably just generally more athletic and strong than I am. But it was fun having someone to compete against, even though they would always outdo me. So sometimes I would cheat. We'd do these sprint things. So one time I just got tired of this dude, Nick, always burning me. So I just grabbed his shoulder and pulled him back. There you go. I win. Anyway. So journalist Michael Schellenberger testified in front of a House Judiciary Subcommittee on Thursday, claiming military contractors for the U.S. and the U.K. have used disinformation tactics against Americans.
What?
No. So this is different in that it's not the executive. Now, these are military contractors. Schellenberger said the tactics and silencing of people who disagreed with certain point of view were worse than he had predicted in front of Congress in March. The alleged silencing included censorship on major social media platforms during the 2020 presidential election. No. Let's see. 2 days ago, my colleagues and I published the first batch of internal files from the Cyber Threat Intelligence League. Which, you ever heard of that? which shows U.S. and UK military contractors working in 2019 and 2020 to both censor and turn sophisticated psychological operations, also known as PSYOPs, and disinformation tactics developed abroad against the American people. Schellenberger told these cats, which this is that same committee that Jim Jordan's we were just talking about, where he's trying to get the other cats to talk. Let's see. Schellenberger, who helped release the Twitter files, claimed the federal government, including an office in the Department of Homeland Security, played a role in violating the First Amendment through its censorship of people who held differing political views. The First Amendment prohibits the government from abridging freedom of speech, Schellenberger testified. The Supreme Court has ruled that the government may not induce, encourage, or promote private persons to accomplish what is constitutionally forbidden to accomplish. But there's now a large body of evidence proving the government did precisely that. The hearing cited evidence of censorship in Twitter, now called X, response to the January 6 riots and the subsequent banning of former President Trump. Yeah, we know what the Twitter files are. Let's see. The abuses of power my colleagues and I have documented go well beyond censorship. They also include what appear to be an effort by government officials and contractors, including the FBI, to frame certain individuals posing as a threat of domestic terrorism for their political beliefs. All of this is profoundly un-American. One's commitment to free speech means nothing if it does not extend to your political enemies. Let's see if there's anything else. No, that's it. So this is actually a bigger thing. The Department of Homeland Security has a group called, what is it, CISA? C-I-S-A? Something like that. But basically it's information law enforcement type thing. Basically just thoughts, they patrol information, cyber information. It's like cyber information, blah, blah, something or other. I forget what it stands for. But they're part of the Department of Homeland Security.
So it's just like mining data?
I forget. I should have pulled all that up. But they do, it's part of the Department of Homeland Security. So it's kind of like intelligence gathering, on the cybers. It's focused on the cybers. And they were weaponizing themselves against, people who are not pro-Biden or pro federal government response to things. But like beyond just like the executive branch saying like, we're pushing for a narrative. Let's get this narrative, which has kind of been what it's been talked about before. And even the FBI and CIA through the Twitter files were like, hey, can't, let's try and silence this kind of stuff. It was like now the Department of Homeland Security has also been involved, and they have a whole agency that was dedicating way too many resources to that. I gotta talk about this one next. And so there's actually, let's just go to the next one. I don't know how to not talk about this one next. Federal air marshals apparently have not been doing federal air marshal things. And, I'm not a big fan of the concept of federal air marshals. Like, I think theoretically, I'm fine with, like, sky law enforcement to a degree, especially if the private airlines want it to be there. I think all this post 9/11 crap at airports, TSA and all that's pretty ridiculous and doesn't work.
Patriot Act.
Yeah, Patriot Act. Ugh.
It's all of this is a result of it.
Sure is. It sure is. And like, I think it's ridiculous. But air marshals, okay. Like, if an air marshal on a plane or two or whatever means we don't have to get patted down anymore, I'm all for it. And really use some intelligence to like figure out which routes to put them on. You probably don't need them from Des Moines to Oklahoma City. Like, I'm thinking that flight's gonna be fine. Pretty much any Spirit Airlines flight out of South Florida, put them on that one. Not because of terrorism, but because shit's going to go down. They're going to punch somebody. But anyway, so right now, I guess Glenn Beck, who runs the Blaze and all that, or I don't know, it's his baby, had the director of Air Marshal National Council on, and she says that right now the air marshals are either on the border or they're following individual. You're scrolling to mine.
Oops, sorry.
That's all right. I'm going to get mine back. So they're either on the border or following individuals that were in the national capital around January 6th. So we're down on the border doing non-law enforcement duties, handing out water, driving people to the hospital, waiting for them to get stitches, bringing them back to the Border Patrol facility. They're picking up Uber Eats orders and performing any NGO task you can imagine instead of thwarting terrorists in the air. But let's see. And one thing that came from this is there's currently an 8-week-old baby that's on the terrorist watch list. You know,
That's impressive.
yeah, I mean, that baby's badass. But what happened was that baby's father, so January 6th was 2021. Yeah. So in 2021, he got a citation for parading, which is a crime. Yep, parading, which I think just means that he walked into the Capitol building, maybe, and he didn't break in. I think it's a charge, like it's not trespassing. It's, I don't even know what parading really
But can't
is.
you walk into the Capitol?
Well, during January 6th, you know.
Oh.
When, but even then, the more footage that comes out now that all of it's been put out, where it shows. I mean, I think, you know, the people breaking windows and getting in that way, like I think that's an easy case of trespass. But when you see all the guards opening all the doors saying, "Come on into the people's house," like a lot of those people that weren't the first in, that just like, oh, people are walking in right now, that followed in. It's like, I mean, this is the danger. This is the danger to the Republic. But anyway, so I think he got one of those kind of charges that he was there.
Well, didn't a report come out that it was like 200 FBI agents were in the crowd too?
They won't say how many, but they, you know, with the new footage, they have shown that the Capitol Police sure looks like they started firing tear gas and stuff into the crowd before anything went down, and that's probably what set off the violence.
Nice stir.
Oh man, it's crazy. This dude got shot in the face with, I think a rubber bullet, and it went into his cheek. They were stuffing like gauze or something in to his cheek and was sticking out because they pierced his face with it, because they were just indiscriminately shooting into the crowd.
Jesus.
And then the same thing was, they had smoke grenades that they were throwing, and they had little smoke grenade launchers. But you can see in the footage, you go, well, no one's broken any barricades right now. They're just chanting, waving flags, and doing whatever they're doing, you know. But which is all at that point technically legal. They're all in the sections where they're supposed to be. There's a lot of them. And they're, you know, loud, but like really there's nothing illegal going on. And all of a sudden the police are throwing bombs, like hitting people, like people
Poke the bear.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And like, I don't know, the thing about these grenades, like, yeah, only smoke comes out, but they're not made out of marshmallows. Right. And so it's just like, oh, yeah. So, you know, people are getting clocked in the head. It's like, you can, some of it, the perspective of a cell phone, you see like footage, like someone's holding a cell phone and all of a sudden they just, you know, just fall out because they just got clocked in the head with something. So yeah, anyway, so this baby's dad got a citation for parading, and then, which is a serious crime. And then, I don't know, a year later or something, what month is this? I guess a couple of years after that, him and his lady got it on, and then they had a baby. And so when the mom and the baby were flying to Puerto Rico to visit her family, found out, oh, baby's on a terrorist watch list. So like right now, the U.S. Marshals are monitoring this 8-week-old baby, and I guess there's some other kid, like a 9-year-old that's on the list too, and an 8-year-old. So, you know, the government is doing a good job of catching the terrorists, and this is how it's going to go, man. Everybody's a terrorist. The terrorist watch list needs to just go away as far as flights go. And like, it's even a designation on your ticket. Like it's, I forget what the letters say, but it's all like S's or something like that in the corner when you're on the watch list. All right. Well, before we go, I do want, all right. Well, we don't need to go to all the articles. I want to, basically, Elon Musk, where's my hat head? Elon Musk is filing a lawsuit against Media Matters. Are you aware of Media Matters?
Uh-uh.
Well, they are a George Soros-funded organization that bills themselves as a watchdog for hate speech or watchdog of media. But basically what they do is they keep an eye on any conservative media, any non-corporate, non-left-wing media, and so they watch all the shows, you know, like a Sean Hannity or a Glenn Beck or whatever, and they assign people to listen or watch the entire show. And then typically what they do is they'll take a clip and then they'll write an article about this clip, about how much these people are hateful, and then they bring it to advertisers and go, do you really want to advertise with somebody that says, you know, they hate black people or whatever? And the clip typically is like out of context, you know, or they take a little snippet. I think
on purpose.
Yeah, like some of the shows have done things in the past just to tweak them, where they come out and they say something like totally ridiculous, and then they'll wait like 30 seconds. They go, and of course we don't believe any of that kind of stuff, but you know, that's kind of the perspective people are having. And the Media Matters clips it right before, of course we don't believe any of that kind of stuff, and they'll put it out. Well, Media Matters decided we needed to take out Twitter, and they needed to get some advertising boycotts on Twitter, because that's what Media Matters does. And so they are like, hey, major corporations like Disney, their ads are showing up next to white supremacist content. And you go, what? And ends up, but like Elon Musk was like, that's ridiculous, you know? So they have the logs because it's all done through servers. And what they did is they set up a fake account, you know, like set up a different account. They subscribed to, or they followed a bunch of white supremacists and things like that. And so then they would hit refresh and refresh and refresh. And they basically hit refresh a ridiculous number of times and like added accounts until finally, after a while, after manipulating this thing for a long time, they finally got an ad to pop up for something in line with some Nazi stuff or whatever stuff. And they go, boom, screenshot. And so they put it out there. And so, of course, all these brands like Disney backed out, and they're just like, well, we're not going to advertise on X anymore because of this stuff. So Elon Musk is suing because he can show, he's like, y'all manufactured, like this is fraud. You manufactured a result that you wanted that doesn't occur naturally. The CEO, who's also a registered Democrat, and which a lot of people didn't trust her because she's been kind of a lefty for a while. That's worked in big tech. She came out, she's like, there's only 2 accounts that has ever seen the content they presented. One is Media Matters, and the other is the account they set up. Those are the only 2 where this has ever occurred. And I think that they got receipts, so Elon Musk is filing a lawsuit. And, you know, normally when you got billionaire Soros backing you up, you're pretty good on a lawsuit, but this is the first time we got another billionaire on the other end, so could be fun. But
maybe it kills Soros.
What? Oh.
Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry.
Well, his son's already taking the reins, Alexander.
Him too. Oops.
Alexander Soros is like, I think he's our age, somewhere around that, maybe a little younger than us. And he's always been, he does not think his father was politically active enough.
Oh, God. Come on.
I know. And so he got the keys to the kingdom. And so, like, he's he's the young princeling of whatever this thing is. So you had that, and on top of that, you had this Twitter scandal here where this guy posted. So Elon Musk retweeted something saying, "You're speaking the truth," and you know, I've seen some coverage of this, and I don't know if the analysis. I mean, he came out later. Well, let's read the tweet. So this guy, called the artist formerly known as Eric, whatever, said, okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest shit about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want truth said to your face? There it is. And I don't know anything about this guy. He could be, I don't know, white supremacist or anti-Semitic. I don't know. But, you know, Elon Musk replied to that with, like, you're speaking the truth. And he came out and he basically said a lot of stuff about the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, which is largely, it used to be they only looked for hate speech against Jewish people. I think, was their founding. Then they kind of changed the name, and now it's about hate speech in general. But it's, largely been kind of a defense against anti-Semitism in media and all that kind of stuff. But they're very left-wing, and so what they consider anti-Semitic tends to be anything that's not left-wing. And so, but when I read this, to me, what this guy seems to be talking about is the voting habits of the Jewish population in America, and perhaps in the West in general. I don't know about the West in general because I don't live everywhere, but the Jewish voting bloc outside of Orthodox and conservatives largely votes Democrat, like over and over again. Recently, the Democrat Party's been pushing this kind of open border thing, but not in the libertarian way, more in the don't change any of the laws and just turn your back while people come over and don't even keep track of who's coming in, And with that, of course, we've had records of people coming in during Biden's years, all which was voted for, the, high approval rates of everything. So to me, this seems like what it's saying is there's people complaining now about results that they voted for. They donated money to, they pushed for these policies that had these certain results, and now the people have come in, a lot of them are anti-Semites and stuff, and so it's like, okay, perhaps this was not the way to go. So it seems to be more about don't cry to me that there's a lot of people in the country that are hating on you when a lot of them came in illegally because of policies you wanted. That's how I read it. Now this guy could be total garbage and have other horrible perspectives, and maybe he meant it in a horrible way, but that's sort of how I read it. So people freaked out once again, and so you're between the Media Matters thing and this, Elon Musk is anti-Semitic and all that. So I do have, oh no, we didn't untangle our headphones, but I do have a media clip. Have you seen this? Elon Musk on the New York Times?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So,
the internet wins on that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let me get to it.
We'll play. This is on your screen, I got it queued up to the time where it's most relevant. You're going to need the headphones to hear it. But
I've heard it, yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
Online, there was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself.
Yeah. I love this guy.
But go yourself. Is that clear?
All right, you can hit
I
pause.
hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Hey,
Sure,
Bob.
the audience.
That's one of the best parts. He says hi to the Disney CEO. Then, hi, Bob, if you're in the audience. But no, so he goes and so he apologizes for retweeting this thing. He hadn't deleted his quote retweet, which I think is fine. You're apologizing. You don't have to delete it necessarily. It's like, all right, I apologize. This is what it is. It's out there. But he started off by apologizing. He's like, look, what I meant was the ADL and what the ADL does and yada, yada, yada. And so whatever. I believe it. I think generally, I don't know. I think my analysis might have been closer to what he was thinking. Maybe not. Because I don't imagine he's giving tons of thoughts to his retweets when he's doing stuff. He's just kind of skimming it because, he has 30 jobs. But with that in the media, so he apologized and all that, and so then they're like, well, what about the boycotts? And he's just like, you can go back yourself. And I love that answer. I love that he repeated it, and I love that he called out Disney by their CEO's name immediately afterwards. So that, I guess, to end on a high note, that's one of the highlights. I think Elon Musk, hopefully he does go forward with his lawsuit. I hope it goes well against Media Matters. That would be very interesting. Even if it shuts down Media Matters, will be a new organization, like PolitiFact is kind of the same. But anyway, something else will pop up in this place, but at least just to knock him down a peg. And I like having the guts to say, don't advertise. We don't want you. If you want to do normal ads, come with normal ads. But if you want to play games and boycott and try and force my hand on how to run this company or what to say. Like, go fuck yourself. I like it. All right, well, that'll do it for this week. Like and subscribe and alerts and the things. We're on the Tunes and the Spots and the YouTubes and the Rumbles and all those. So subscribe to them all. Yeah, I don't know. Until next week, what you got, Charlie?
I agree.
I already agree. All right, everybody. We'll see you.